It is not a universal truth. Unfortunately, that is all that I really liked about the book. I disliked almost everything else. Of course, the memories from the past. Like they could be green for all I care, but... Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. My name is Femke from Fame to the Fiction on Instagram and Bookish Buddies on Twitter. And today I will be doing a review for Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. Okay, so first of all I would like to add a disclaimer. Everything that is said in this video is simply my own opinion. It is not a universal truth, and if you disagree with me, that is absolutely fine. I try to be respectful to both the author and the book and not to bash them or rant about them, but I try to explain my opinions. So I really tried for today's review to be coherent and clear. My reviews and my general videos tend to be kind of messy and all over the place. This review will be spoiler free. There may be some very minor spoilers as to some of the locations of the book, but nothing major in terms of plot, so you can rest assured you can watch this video without being spoiled. So I had pretty high hopes and expectations for this book, because I really liked Alexandra Christo's debut novel, To Kill a Kingdom. However, I wasn't too impressed by Into the Crooked Place. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, because I wasn't invested, and it really felt like a chore to read it, even though the premise did interest me. The most important reason that I actually finished the book was because I was very curious about the plot. The plot is one of the few things that I actually really liked about the book. I thought it was, well, quite unique in a sense. Overall, it somehow did manage to keep me interested and curious as to what would happen. In addition to the plot, I also quite liked the writing style. It was very easy to read. It was quite fast-paced. It was very nice to read. I think the writing style is also one of the things that is most similar to Kill a Kingdom, insofar as similarities go. This is really conflicting, but despite not really liking the book and feeling like it was a chore to read, I kind of did fly through it because it is 470 pages and it didn't take me long to read. I also liked the representation in this book. There is a female-female romance in this book, and I think that people of color were represented quite well in this book. Unfortunately, that is all that I really liked about the book, so I will now go into the things that I didn't really like about the book, and that list is considerably longer. I really struggled to pick up the book and continue reading it, because despite liking the plot, I disliked almost everything else. It took me quite a while in terms of number of pages to figure out what it was that I actually didn't like, but I think almost everything that I didn't like boils down to a lack of specificity, which is mostly due to underdevelopment. And what I mean by a lack of specificity is a lack of detailing. Because generally when I read a book, I really get a feeling for the world. I can imagine everything in my head, and I didn't have that with this book at all. Like, I built this entire image based on details that were given, the characters' experiences in the world, and that helps me build this image. But for this book, just my mind remained completely blank. I'll just start with the world building in this case, because I was very happy that we were provided a map in the beginning of the book. I tend not to use maps as much because I tend to form an image of the world in my head, even though that might not be actually representative of what it looks like. That is just what I tend to do. But for this book, I was completely at a loss as to where we were with regards to like space and placement. I'll try to exemplify that by using the city of Kraya. Kraya was the city in which this story starts, and it is a pretty important city. Within the city of Kraya there's a number of locations that we visit, but we're never actually told how we get there. We just flip back and forth between them. Well, I just want to know, okay, what is the relative distance between point A and point B and point C? And in addition to that, I would have also liked more knowledge of what the world actually looked like. We are told that there are 4 realms, but I have no idea how these function. Are they like 4 different countries with each their own government and laws and everything? Or are they 4 provinces of the same country which have one set of laws and one government to rule that? It was very unclear to me. What I also really missed was details on how the characters experience their world. We are told that it's a very gritty world, but then we proceed to not having any of these experiences from the characters. I would have really liked to know what things look like and how our characters experience them. Like, for example, what did the streets look like? Were they paved, or were they dirt roads, or cobblestones? And the houses, were they shabby or were they new? And what did the air smell like? And does that bring about any memories from the past? Of course, memories from the past. But you know what I mean. Does it, you know, have any associations for that character? And these details I just missed throughout the book, and not just in the city of Kaya, but for all of the locations we visit. I didn't get any details. I didn't know what it looked like. I don't know how they're different. I don't have any associations from the characters on how they experience the world. And because of that, all the locations basically just blurred together. And none of them gave me any distinct feeling or impression. And they just didn't seem unique, in a sense. And there were also a lot of details with regards to the world that I was missing that don't necessarily pertain to the physical world, but more how the world worked. Because we are told in the beginning that the people who can make new magic, they're basically gone. So the magic we have needs to be recycled. But how does that work? How is it recycled? Can this magic be recycled infinitely? Or does it fade the more times it's recycled? There's also been a war, but we get no details on this war. And because of that, it just feels like this vague idea that kind of may have happened at some point, and not this definite part of history of this country that happened only like 40 or 50 years ago, because I think that's actually the case, but it just, we don't get any details. And because it wasn't so long ago, there should be characters alive that experienced the war, so they could give more of a feeling of how they experienced the war. And I also would have liked description, like more description of actual events. At one point, pretty early on in the book, so I don't consider this a spoiler, the main characters need to steal a train. Okay, fine. But then when we get to the point where they actually need to steal the train, it's completely glossed over. It's just, okay, we're going to steal a train, and then next chapter, suddenly, we have a train. I want to read about that. I want to know how they steal the train. I want to know the details. And this is just one scene where that happens, but there is so many of them. And I also think the characters were underdeveloped. I think Wesley was probably the character who was developed the most out of all of them with regards to backstory. Because we don't get a full backstory for any of the characters. We get some snippets of their pasts. And I get that you don't want to give a full backstory of all of the characters in the first book when there's a second book to come. But still, I want to know more, because just like I don't have a feeling for the world, I also don't have a feeling for the characters and who they are and how they work and what makes them tick. And the flashes we get from the past, again, they're missing details. Like, I want specifics, I want dates and times and feelings and names and places, just all of it. And it wasn't there. Now that we're on the subject of characters, I also think the villain lacked motivation. He just seemed to be evil for the sake of being evil. He wanted to rule the world for the sake of ruling the world. Sure, but why? One of the most important features of the villain was revealed way too early on in the book. I just felt like that would have been a major plot point at some point at the end of the book. But it was revealed at like 1/3 or maybe half of the book, and I just think that could have been utilized so much better than it actually was. In addition to underdeveloped characters, well, another aspect of underdeveloped characters, I think, at least, I could have missed it, but I didn't get any clear image of what any of the characters looked like. I don't think we got any clear descriptions of that. Wesley was described mostly okay, but I have no idea what Tavia or Saxony or Karam look like. No clue. Like, they could be green for all I care, but I don't know. And another thing I also really disliked was interaction between characters, because Tavia and Saxony were supposed to have been best friends, but then the book proceeds to give us nothing that even indicates that. Saxony and Tavia barely have any scenes together, and if they have scenes together, it really doesn't show me that they are best friends. They don't know, well, basic things that I consider basic knowledge about their families, about their lives and everything. Saxony as a character, I majorly disliked her. I just think she was such a bitch. Her motivations were really subpar, and she was very unkind to everyone around her, except when, you know, the plot warranted her to be kind. But even, like, her best friend, I mean, you're supposed to be kind to your best friend, and she wasn't. Something else that annoyed me a bit were the similarities to Six of Crows. Wesley was obviously a cheap ripoff of Kaz. Also, with the drug coming out in the book, in the beginning of the book, it's just really similar to Six of Crows. There's a lot of similarities, and that was another thing that ticked me off. Like, if that would have been the only thing, I would have been fine with it, but this is just, you know, it's all stacking up to me not liking it, basically. And for all of the issues I mentioned, I only used 1 or 2 examples, but I think there's many more that could have been used, but I didn't want to make this video super long. It's also quite long as it is, I think. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I think all of these issues can really be traced back to a lack of specificity due to underdevelopment. Underdevelopment in multiple aspects of the book. I am quite sad that I didn't like this book, because I was really looking forward to it. I didn't hate it, it just was a disappointment in many different aspects. Yeah, I was really looking forward to it, also because I really like To Kill a Kingdom, but I guess not every book is for everyone, and that's okay. Just like, if you did like this book, that's absolutely fine. I'm really happy you did. I'm not sure whether I will be continuing this series. On the one hand, I am curious to see how the plot progresses and if the second book can make amends, well, for the things that this book lacked. I'm not sure yet. I'm not going to say I will, I'm not going to say I won't. I'm going to have to see it when it comes out. Yeah, like I said, the many issues I named in this video made it quite difficult for me to get through the book, and it took away a lot of the enjoyment of reading. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, that was my review for Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I would like to ask you guys to consider subscribing if you liked this video and giving it a thumbs up. If you also read To the Crooked Place, please leave a comment down below with your opinions. You could also hit the bell icon if you want to be notified every single time that Esmay or I post a video. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!